Okay, my name is Frank Topliff from Gloversville, New York. And we're talking about the draft of the Army of World War II. Now, I was graduated from high school in '39, and I had small jobs around town until I went to Plattsburgh for what they call a defense school. And that school, I forget how many weeks it was, they gave us a job down in Baltimore, Maryland, which was Glenn L. Martin. Glenn L. Martin made the B-26. But after I left Glenn L. Martin, I went to Bell Aircraft, and I was in Buffalo, New York. From there I got my draft. First, from Baltimore, I got after going from the defense school in Plattsburgh, I went to Glenn L. Martin in Baltimore, Maryland. That was where they were building the B-26s, which was a medium bomber. I stayed in for a while. Of course, I was there when Pearl Harbor came, so we were all, what do you want to say, had to register for the draft at that time. I got one deferment there. Then I went to Buffalo, Bell Aircraft. Now, Bell Aircraft made a pursuit bomber, a P-59, I think. I can't even quite remember what it was.
59?
Anyway, from there I got my draft papers from Gloversville, which was a roundabout way. So I left, it was December something, 1942. And there, of course, we went to, well, let's see, I think you had to go to Utica, then we went down to New York. I went to Camp Upton. There, I went from there to Atlantic City after I had my basic training. From there, I went down to mechanical school in airplane mechanics in North Carolina. I think that was Seymour Johnson Field, if I'm not mistaken. And from there I went down to Fort Myers for gunnery school. Then after that, of course, we were transferred over to Europe. I think that was in March '44, if I'm not mistaken. And we landed, well, the ship we took was an Italian ship. Name I couldn't tell you. But it took us 2 weeks to go from New York to Scotland. That's going up and down away from the subs and everything. But then we landed in Scotland. And we had well, the Scotchmen out there with their kilts and the bagpipes. And we took a train down to England. I couldn't tell you just where it was in England we went. But we were in England, oh, I don't know, well, until the Battle of D-Day. And from D-Day, after, say, maybe after that, we all went across into France. We stayed there for quite a while. Then from France, we went to Holland, Belgium, and Germany. That's where our headquarters were. During the time in England, with the scary part I had there, they had what they call buzz bombs. Now these buzz bombs, well, you could tell the time of the day every time it went off. But if the engine or motor cut off, then you got out of the way. So, according to the Germans at that time, we were wiped out, but they never touched us. And then one day I had a pass to go to this town, and we stayed at a Red Cross Club building. I don't know who I went with or anything else, but I remember going there. And after the buzz bomb was what they call a V2 rocket. Well, we were sleeping in bunks there, and that V2 rocket exploded. So we're here right down beside the building. And it took the walls all like this, the ceiling down. My bunk was covered with bricks. And every window in that town was busted. Well, if we were, say, 10 feet closer, we all been wiped out. But God was with us. Well, beside that, England was calm till we got over in France. Then it was our job to at that time, I was grounded from flying. My nerves gave out and everything, so no more flying. I was on the ground, mechanic, right? And I spent my time as a mechanic. Of course, at the Battle of the Bulge, we couldn't even go to bed without carrying a rifle with us. You never knew what was going to happen. But so far, we were lucky. And then, what else I can say, I don't know.
Let's go back a little bit. This is kind of interesting. Defense school in Plattsburgh. Now, this is before we were in the war, but the British were in it. And what kind of things did they teach you in defense school in Plattsburgh?
Sheet metal.
Sheet metal?
Sheet metal, yeah.
How to rivet it and that kind of thing, or?
Well, most of anything, layout, everything else.
Okay.
Of course, that's why when I got down to Martin, I was also on sheet metal.
Now, you were in Baltimore when Pearl Harbor happened?
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean...
Well, all I remember is they had these spotlights all over the place because you're right near the harbor there. And it's just like you see in the movies. There was those big lights there, circling around, going back and forth.
Trying to spot airplanes?
It's spotted, yes.
Yeah. What did you do? You left. You went to. I guess you were in Buffalo when you got your draft notice.
Yes.
And then you went to Utica. What?
Well, first I went home.
Okay.
That's right. I had to say goodbye to everybody. And I think now my memory is not as good as it should be. I think we went to Utica. Then we boarded a train. It took us down to New York.
You mentioned Camp Upton.
Camp Upton, yeah.
Now, where was that?
I think that was on Long Island.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's where basic training was?
No.
No?
Basic training was Atlantic City.
Okay. So...
We stayed in hotels there.
Well...
Which is worse than anything else.
Okay.
You don't heard the word chicken? That's how that was. One nice thing about it, Ben Miller was stationed there at that time.
Okay, yeah.
And we came back from marching around, and we came back to our hotel where we had our mess hall across the street. We go across the street and start upstairs, we heard music. We get there, here's Ben Miller and his orchestra playing for us.
Wow.
And I've seen him a few times, and I always say I was in my hotel playing the piano. He heard me and he ran out. But I did see him. He's a very nice person.
You do play the piano. Did you played then too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did that generate a crowd of people around you when?
Oh, lots of times. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For that, I even played in high school, if anybody remembers it or not. We had what's called a swing chapel.
Okay. And
I was in, I think it was 39. There was 50 pieces up in that stage. How they ever got on that stage, I don't know. A long time.
now, after you went to the continent from after D-Day, You said you went to France and Holland, Belgium, and then eventually into Germany.
A part of it, yes.
Yeah, and you recall where you crossed over?
Pardon?
Do you recall where you crossed into Germany?
Not all over, just say the first part of Germany. Yeah.
Okay, so you,
We couldn't fraternize at all at that time.
when you were getting ready to leave home, were you part of a large family, or here at home, or
No, I only had one sister.
one sister? So, and Mom wrote to you a lot?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then once in a while I'd write.
So, when you were on your flying status, you were a gunner?
Supposed to be, yes.
Tail,
Tail gunner.
belly?
I was supposed to be what they call an engineer gunner.
Okay. So you kept track of the situation with the aircraft as well as the gunnery duties, huh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So how do you think this whole thing, in retrospect, you know, thinking back on it, how did it affect you personally? I mean,
Well, of course, I was like many of us. The first thing we wanted to do is become a citizen, out of the service, be a civilian again.
yeah. And you came back to Gloversville, and what did you do after you got out?
Oh, I started working around a little bit. Then two other fellows, myself, went out to California.
Oh. What did you do out there? Aircraft.
Yep, Douglas Aircraft. I went out with Jack Burhop and Walt Sinisky.
Well, you went through this whole thing real quick. Any memory other than a V-2 flying down on you? Anything else that terribly traumatic?
Oh, you're scared a lot of times,
yeah.
yes, but
I'm sure.
anything moving, you didn't know what it is. Just hope we would make it the next day.
You have some pictures there in front of you.
Well, right
Would
here-
you share those with us, please?
It's when I was in France. We had the privilege of having a pass. So we got on a train. It was in the wintertime. No heat on the train. We froze, I know that. And this one here is the Eiffel Tower. This other friend of mine, he took the picture. And well, that's closest to the Eiffel Tower we could get at that time because everything was, well, you weren't allowed to be there.
Okay.
And this
Now,
one
where were
here,
you stationed at that time when you took the train? What was the name of that place?
the town I was in,
Yeah.
oh, I couldn't tell you. It was near, well, we call it St. Quentin. It's Saint Quentin.
Okay.
But that was the closest town I can remember now. And this one here is what I call the Arc de Triomphe. Other people call it the French way. I just about barely remember it. Because that's, how many years ago? 60 years ago? No, close to
95
it.
was 50 years, yeah.
And this here is a picture of the plane I was in. It's a B-26. I was in what they call the 9th Air Corps, Army Air Corps. 397 Group, 598 Squadron.
And the squadrons were those are the depictions on the corners there, that was their...
My squadron was this one here, 598th. For that I went to a reunion just this last year out in Tucson, Arizona.
Now, up to this point, before you went to the reunion, you said it had been 50 years before you'd gone to the reunion. Had you kept track of any of the people in your squadron prior to that?
When I went to the first reunion, I didn't know a single soul. but I got acquainted with them,
A lot of the same experiences?
some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them been there, every one of them. It's just somehow I slipped through the cracks. Well, I finally got a card. Is it possible you're one of these persons that, you know, we couldn't find or otherwise, but always lived in the same place?
Are you the Frank Topliff? Let's, so all said and done, what's your final comment on the times that you spent?
Well, I suppose I learned something, you know, a little more knowledge of the way the rest of the world is. But there's nothing like coming home.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't think of a lot of other stuff, you know.
It's all right. That's fine. Thank you again.
Okay.